only scared because we know the answer already.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like now you're not scared, like this is gonna go well, or you're like, this is not gonna go well. So you're scared and you don't want that to be the outcome, but you know in your heart and your soul that's what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
that's here to ask specific questions, and like whether it's asking for a raise at your job, whether it's asking a guy, what are we doing in this relationship? Whether it's just whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
we all know the answers. We could all tap into it, but it's not a good answer that we
But
want to hear. We're scared to ask it.
Not fully knowing and understanding my self-worth, especially asking for a raise at work, or just in a relationship.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that last part. I don't know what happened.
It's okay. I don't know what part. I was just
That
saying
last.
how, like, knowing your self worth helps you speak your truth
Mm-hmm.
and having that confidence. And for me, I had that in the past, it wasn't as strong, so I did a lot of self work to help me be able to speak up and voice on my mind.
I like your ring, by the way. Sorry, off topic, but I like.
Oh, thank you.
We have to catch up about that.
Hey,
I asked for this. Like, it's so funny story about that. I saw a ring that looked like this, but it wasn't this one. And I just like kept it in my mind and I took a picture of it and I guess I sent it to him. I don't even know. And when I got this ring, I was like, wow, I manifested that. That like plays like perfectly into this question. So ladies though, for real, do you ever sit down and like think like, what do I want out of my life?
I write it down. I write
yeah,
everything.
I write it all down.
I'm such a weirdo. Like I have books and books and books. And sometimes it's the same. I have to compare notes of like what I said I wanted a year ago or 5 years ago or 4 years ago versus what I want now. So it changes a little bit, but not or some stuff I've accomplished already. So I could cross that off and then I can next step. But I do literally every day and I take all the thoughts out of my head and put it on paper because they're in my head, I get anxiety about it. So I have to out of my head, there's no room for anxiety. I'm like, okay, I got it. This is the schedule. This is what we're doing. I can live in the moment now. And that's how I even deal because I used to have really bad anxiety. Like so I did yoga. I read the Bible a lot, obviously, which I still scriptures daily. And I prayed, which I do anyway. I pray every morning, every night throughout the day. I meditate. I just start doing my meditation, this Deepak Chopra meditation. And I do a lot of that. And then I write everything down. No more anxiety. Like seriously. Like it helps. It really, really helps. Like it really helps. Like naturally, if you want natural, go with that. Because really anxiety is you're thinking about the past and the future. You're not living in the present. Live like you're missing out on life. And you'll be more tuned with yourself too.
Does anybody else want to speak on how often they ask themselves what they want?
I'll say I go over it at least every couple months, but I'm pretty precise about what I want. So I write everything down just like she mentioned. I also visualize, meditation, affirmations, all of that. And I'm actually seeing the result of or living some of the results of some things that I wrote a year ago. Some things manifest quickly, some things may take a little time.
What are your thoughts on the power of thought?
it can be daily or it can help you to live your life. So you just have to make sure like you have positive thoughts, like you're not talking down to yourself, talking yourself out of things that you want in life. But it's easier said than done, right? You have to do a lot of self work and reflection, just to get to that state of positive thinking and surrounding yourself around other individuals like yourself, to keep you on that path.
It starts with a thought. So, okay. The question that I have next is kind of tricky, so I understand if it's hard to answer. Do you believe every thought that you think?
No.
Mm.
And for me, that's mostly because like someone that's super close to me suffers with severe OCD. And just from the outside looking in, I know that it's a lot easier said than done, because this is something that the person like really struggles with. They think that, you know, their compulsive behavior is the solution to whatever anxiety is it that they're having, but it's really them digging themselves into a bigger hole. And so in my reflection of that, but also knowing how anxiety presents itself to me, like it's a lot of stuff really is mind over matter. And so if it is negative or not in alignment with, you know, something that I believe to be true, it's a self-check for me. And you can't necessarily control your thoughts, but you can control how your thoughts impact you, because you have to learn to acknowledge it and move on. And that's something that is true for thought, but just in anything in life. Like if it's something that you don't want, you have to acknowledge it, because you got to get through it. You can't avoid it. It's happening, but you don't have to let it be the end all be all. So
I think of our brain like a computer, like apps. So I'll think of the good thoughts that I'm having. I'll think of my routines that I'm having. And then I'll think of the negative things that I'm having or thinking about. And I will try to X out like those negative thoughts regularly and talk to myself like, that is not real. You are suffering from a form of trauma. Here is how we are going to think. So now I'm going to start thinking about how I'm going to think right.
I think that comes back to like what you were saying though, because like to like acknowledge it and know that you need to close it is acknowledgement, you know? So in that you're essentially overcoming it, because you're acknowledging it and then you're moving past it.
But acknowledgement and accountability is key. I actually have a question for you all actually about accountability. So at what point in your life did you decide to take accountability for all your actions, and how much did that choice enhance your life?
I think that's a ongoing process. Like I feel like I do that at new levels quite often. Like whenever a roadblock or something, like in a moment of reflection, it brings me back to, is this something that like I'm dealing with because I'm okay with dealing with it, or is this something that I'm really not okay with? So what we finna do? And when I think about accountability, I really think about like just being exhausted with the way things are. That's usually like a catalyst for one to change, or just a tired narrative. And I know like for me with that whole strong Black woman thing, it's like, okay, this is true, but I'm tired of hearing that shit. Like I don't want to hear people keep leaning into that. And so how I go about changing that narrative is I don't deal in spaces that make me have to be strong, that make me have to lean into that. And that's a personal choice, but that's an action that makes me feel relieved of that burden. And so that's something that I come into when I'm feeling that. And so again, it's something that is an ongoing analysis and reflection.
I like it. I like that.
For me, what really made that click was dating, because it was like, I'm tired of, I don't want to be that girl that's always, you know, complaining about, oh, it happens, other people's actions. But what I can do is decide who I give my time and energy to. So I'm going to go to places that make me feel light and taken care of, not that like I had to be a strong Black woman and bear unnecessary burdens.
What happened the last time we didn't listen to our inner voice?
Think about not listening to your inner